a lot to love about the Chinese, especially the Imperial Officer mechanic is something that can give you a lot of flexibility as we jump into the game. So, welcome everybody to game number 2 in this best of 3 in between Kasva and TaToH. We are looking at Hill and Dale, as you see over here. On the right side is TaToH as blue Chinese, and on the left is Kasva as red Abbasids.
So let's talk a little bit about this map and the way that it spawned. A lot of the forests are towards the south of the map, but a lot of the gold mines are towards the north of the map. And interestingly, it looks like Kasva may have got done a little bit dirty on his map spawn. Take a look at this. He's got a big gold vein outside his base, okay? But it appears to only have one gold vein in his base. So compare that over to his opponent, TaToH, who has got essentially quadruple the gold available to him right now. So an extra 12,000 gold. So if there was ever a time that we were doing this live and not 5 minutes behind, because that's what the game is, it's 5 minutes behind, it's already going, the player's already playing, so we can't call for a rematch. But if this was live, I'd be like, hold on a minute, we got to try this again, because that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a very unfortunate gold spawn for TaToH. Although we have to keep in mind that I'm not 100% sure if the map is supposed to guarantee you a big gold on your hill. It almost always spawns like that, but it's possible that the script isn't supposed to guarantee you a gold, just give you a high probability. Still, obviously, this hurts Kasva really, really badly over here, as he will only have one small gold deposit on his hill, whereas TaToH's gonna have 3 on the right side. Although all of them are on the right side, so if Kasva ever gets in here, he can deny all gold from TaToH.
Yeah, one thing to note is that TaToH doesn't actually have 2 forests inside his wallable area, though. So compare that to Kasva. So TaToH's got the one up here above his town center, whereas Kasva's got 2 inside his wallable area. If Kasva needs that extra wood, he's going to have to go outside his base. You can see it below the ridge line. Yeah, just to the left of the deer, so a little bit tough to get to. And if his opponent realizes this, he could probably look at isolating that in the mid-game.
That's a possibility. One of the things I'm noticing for this map is that the hills seem to be much, much smaller than other generations. Usually these hills combined sort of take like 40-45% of the map. It's more like 25% right now, so 2 very, very small hills for both players. Looks like the Barbican of the Sun will be placed here by TaToH. And since this is the first time we're seeing these civilizations, I think it's worth talking about the landmarks. The Barbican of the Sun pretty much acting as a defensive landmark, just like a big tower, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it's got basically all the same things as a tower, except for the fact that it's got a hand cannon in there rather than arrows. Now, it does fire arrows in the event that you garrison villages inside. It's going to give it extra arrow slits that it fires from, but for the most part, it is just simply going to be firing off that hand cannon, which is high damage. Obviously, villages being able to garrison inside also means it's quite a good safety point. You can place it on gold mines and help defend those. But now we do see players both beginning to gather up some stone. So both players realizing that the meta on this map is to make TCs, and make TCs they will.
And I think that's actually good for the Abbasid player, because that is a civilization that really benefits from the 2 TC play. Because now we can mention how the Abbasids work in terms of aging up. It's the only civilization that doesn't need to build individual landmarks. Instead, they build this building, the House of Wisdom, which allows them to construct the wings. These wings unlock 1 technology each age, and you can choose whatever wing you want to age up with early on. By far the best feudal age wing for such a map is the economy wing, because it unlocks this technology, which reduces the cost of villagers by 50%. So this is why the Abbasid economy can be so powerful. And the other added fact is that once you got a certain amount of buildings in the influence radius of the House of Wisdom, you can unlock golden ages, which increase your gather rate as well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's very strong. One of the important things to note is that often people will consider that economic wing as an economic bonus that they get, but it's important to remember it doesn't actually increase the scaling that they get. What it does is just reduce the cost of those villages down, so it takes them from 50 down to 25. And so they're just paying less for their villages. So it's a very linear bonus unless you're going to add in more TCs. So Ideally, I'd love to see Kasva even potentially look at 3 town centers on a map like this, especially playing the Abbasids, because he's going to be able to afford those extra villages.
And I think Kasva is benefiting from the fact that TaToH is going for the stone walls over here and just going for a full boom, because this allows him to potentially TC his gold mine later on. Now, oh yeah, go ahead.
No. You go ahead. I was going to say that's a really good point. Securing that second gold mine is going to be so important for Kasva, and I really hope that he realizes that, because there's nothing worse than getting to that point in the game where you don't have a gold mine that's sitting there and you need that gold mine. You know, your enemy's pushing in, you've just run out of gold, and you're like, oh, I need my gold. Oh, my gold's outside. Oh, I have no gold. Oh, my map isn't spawned correctly. So it's really important that he, realizes that, puts 2 and 2 together, and then focuses on securing that. Whether he looks to put a TC on that, whether he looks to put a castle on it, but now he looks like he's going to be stonewalling it out. That's not the way you secure it.
That's the first for a lot of things here. First time we're seeing these civs in this tournament, or at least on the games we cast. Also, first time we're seeing stonewall mechanics, so I wonder if either of the players will have some cheese and go for siege towers. Remember, the Abbasids get the infantry siege upgrade for free, so they can start making rams or siege towers anytime in this game.
Yeah, now I do like the fact that both players have sort of gone a little bit outside the box on this map. Now, China is quite a good civilization when it comes to the late game. I would probably put them up there as one of the top civs, up there with France. As you would know, France are just the top civ in every single stage of the game, early, mid, late, post-imperial. They are absolutely wonderful. But the French, one of the spots that they don't do so well is with artillery. Now, obviously, they've got the Royal Culverin, but they don't have the bombard that the French have got, or the Chinese have got, rather. The Chinese bombard has got extra range because of an upgrade called pyrotechnics, and this affects all of their gunpowder units. And so I expect, as we see the late game begin, that we may actually see this upgrade come through. So it's going to buff up things like hand cannons, going to increase their range from 4 to 4.8, so it gives you a significant advantage there. It also buffs up your warships. Now, obviously, we're not playing on a water map, so not very relevant. But it also buffs up the Nest of Bees, which is the unique mangonel replacement for the Chinese. So watch out for that one as we enter the late game.
So far, we only have the Tang Dynasty for TaToH, a mechanic that we haven't talked about yet, but since the game is super peaceful, it's time to talk about the dynasty mechanics. So the idea here is that if TaToH builds the second feudal age landmark of the Chinese, which would be the Imperial Academy, he would enter the Song Dynasty and get 35% reduction on villager production speed, something that would be immensely helpful for him when it comes to booming. Plus, of course, that would also unlock the villages, which is a lot more wood-efficient version of houses. And last but not least, it also unlocks the Jungenu, which is basically the Chukonu from Age of Empires 2 and 3. Chukonu is the English transcription, and Jungenu is the Chinese one.
Indeed. So interesting to note, he is going now for that dynasty. 5 villages on that second landmark going to be coming down the Imperial Academy. So heading into that dynasty. And this is the main advantage from this is something that you talked about earlier. It's that reduction in villager train time. That's really what you want to be getting it for. It's going to mean that your 2 town centers is equivalent to 3 town centers. So he's effectively doing a 3 town center boom here. If his enemy wants to match the amount of villages he's outputting, he's going to need to add a 3rd town center. So that is going to really push TaToH ahead quite significantly.
And here's the Imperial Academy. As we already have an Imperial officer out, this little dude can supervise a building, meaning that the villagers drop off more food in there, something that helps quite a bit. It also can supervise production buildings to accelerate unit training, and it can collect tax deposited to the drop-off buildings. You see, if TaToH starts collecting this tax from the lumber camp here, he can get 114 gold into his bank. So I feel like the Imperial officers are the things that really provide that flexibility to the Chinese.
Yeah, that's a great point. So with the Chinese, they have a number of different flexible bonuses that they can use. As you mentioned, you can buff up the production of those buildings, or you can switch it on the military buildings. And that's what I love to do. In the early game, I'll take just 1 stable or 1 barracks, and then I get my Imperial official over there to buff that bad boy up. And it's the equivalent of 3 barracks or 3 stables. So really nice to have that out early. But obviously TaToH not needing that in this game, primarily because this is a bit of a boom fest. And now it looks like we may have players heading up towards the third age. So Kasva going to be going up and adding in the military wing onto his House of Wisdom. Let's talk a little bit about the military wing. What kind of technologies does it offer you, Lidakor?
The military wing focuses mostly on military, as one would expect, but it's more specifically focusing on the camels in the first 2 ages. So, the Feudal Age upgrade allows camels to have an area effect in which they buff the armor of nearby infantry. And in Age of Empires 4, archers also count as infantry, unlike Age of Empires 2, for example. So your camels basically give extra armor to your archers and infantry nearby, and your Castle Age upgrade would give quite a lot of melee armor to your camels, but it's a very, very expensive upgrade. Age 4 is a general upgrade which gives all your infantry 15% HP, which combines very nicely with the otherwise available Phalanx upgrade of the Abbasids, which gives an increased range to your spearmen so they can poke down cavalry from a greater distance.
Yeah, this actually enables the spearmen to poke over the top of each other. So you can have sort of 2 in a line closely together, and if a cavalry unit gets close to them, they're going to be able to very effectively poke him to death. But Kasva now stacking up quite a bit of food here. TaToH also going to be going to Age 3. I'm curious which landmark he goes with, but probably going to be... Was that a Chinese town center that we just saw down on the low ground?
That's a TC for TaToH. He's expanding his map. He probably doesn't want to get cornered that much. He is not going up just yet, whereas Kasva is almost up. Kasva's a couple of villagers behind the last time I checked. Currently, it's 54 villas for him, and TaToH has 62, so slight advantage economically for TaToH here.
All right, well now he's going to be able to push out of his base, and we do see a forward landmark coming down for TaToH as well. So using the astronomical clock tower. So this landmark is going to increase the HP of any artillery or any siege weapons that is trained out of it by 50%. Now you might think, all right, well that seems a little bit strange. If I can only have one of them, I'm going to be really slow to make these units or these siege units. But the good news is you can get your Imperial Official to buff that guy up. So now you're making them 3 times as fast.
And it looks like it could be maybe Men-at-Arms Nest of Bees. If he's expecting archers, Men-at-Arms makes some sense. If he's expecting camels, I feel like Spearman makes more sense. But the unit... I think the obvious selection for Kasva should be Camel Archers in Feudal Age or Castle Age.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what unit he's actually training out of that. We've actually got a Springald going to be coming out as the first unit, and we can see that he is he supervising it? I think he might be supervising it. It's hard to actually tell which direction she's facing. No, supervising both of the barracks.
Yeah, and he's going for Palace Guards. So Palace Guards are basically Men-at-Arms, but the Chinese have quite a lot of unique upgrades for them. So you see Battle Hardened plus 30 HP is pretty massive. And it looks like TaToH is just going to go Springald Men-at-Arms here. Oh, Springald Men-at-Arms as well on the other side.
This is great to see that this is what the meta has sort of evolved into. And I love that both players know that this is what they're going to be doing. This is very curious in this matchup. This is the first time I'm actually ever seeing this, but I love that both players have recognized this as the strongest unit composition that they could make.
Is this the strongest, though? Like, at this point, if Kasva had a lot of Lancers that could easily steamroll this, I feel like the reason why Kasva also needs to go for Men-at-Arms, though, is because it's so easy to mix in Spearmen now to counter the Lancers.
Yeah, that is true. Wait, is he building? Oh, he's building
Springalds.
Oh, that's so smart from him. So we've got these Springalds that have basically got no cooldown at all. He can essentially just build these guys whenever he likes versus the Clock Tower Springalds of TaToH. And now TaToH going to be walking in and catching him red-handed right now as he attempts to put down more Springalds. And TaToH going to be losing out a couple of Palace Guards as they continue to make their way across the map, taking a couple arrows to the knee as they fall down.
Yeah, I love how Kasva is using his Abbasid bonus of being able to make Springolds and Mangonels here. Because he doesn't need to make a siege workshop, he can just make the siege with his infantry right on the battlefield, makes it easy to reinforce. I really feel like Kasva is leveraging the bonuses of his civilizations really well. So is TaToH, though, and that's going to start becoming a scary horde of Palace Guards soon.
Yeah, and one of the things to note, we talked about it a bit earlier, is he's actually got a third Imperial Official out here on the front lines that's going to be buffing up all of these barracks. So he's really going into overdrive with these barracks. That's the equivalent right now of 9 barracks that he can place. And one villager going to get taken out there by the Springles. Going to be dropping down this keep and going to be trying to do their best. I think he's probably going to have to cancel this keep unless he really wants to commit to it. His own Springles coming out. Keep in mind they've got higher HP. He's going to need 3 shots to take out his enemy Springles, and he does manage to do that. I would expect to see villagers getting pulled over towards those Springles just so that they can get healed up. But Men-at-Arms down towards the south now. Going to be looking to harass those villagers, forcing them off. And Men-at-Arms on Men-at-Arms, you see the scimitars swinging against the large, empowered blades of the Palace Guards.
It's called a Guandao.
It's called a what, sorry?
It's a Guandao.
A Guandao.
Yes, it is. Looks like TaToH will be able to get the keep up. It was a beautiful flanking maneuver from him to pull the men-at-arms, or the Palace Guards, to hit the Springles of Kasva, and Kasva will be forced to retreat. This is where the production speed on those barracks really starts to kick in.
Yeah, it's great to see these two players really going at it, and now these guys are really having a men-at-arms man fight. 2 players just beating each other to death in the middle. No player really caring too much about the other one and what they're up to, but very cool to see. I love it. I wonder if this is really what the meta has now developed into. Have we seen sort of men-at-arms become the strong go-to unit? And if so, I wonder if English are going to get good because or get better, because English have got very strong men-at-arms.
Look at how TaToH's spreading out his Palace Guards. He's got 1 on each berry patch. And that's actually something that's pretty painful for Kasva because he's benefiting a lot from berries. They gather faster from the berries, and they also have more food on the berries once they build a mill close by.
Yeah, and now TaToH is going to get denied out here. His Palace Guard. I'm curious, can we have a look at the Palace Guard stat versus the stats of the Men-at-Arms?
Should be even, I think.
So 155, 4, 4, 13, and 155, 6, 4, 13. So he's got the +2 armor over the top of him.
Yeah, I think that's just upgrades, though. We can check. Yeah, there's 2 upgrades in for the melee armor of Kasva, and I don't think that TaToH has the armor upgrades. He actually does.
No, yeah, so I think the Palace Guards have got naturally lower armor than other men-at-arms, but it's very interesting to see there was a wolf up on that sacred site that's going to be taking down that monk ever so slowly. One of the frustrating things.
Yeah.
Monks cannot defend themselves.
Yeah, monks can't defend themselves. Here come the Palace Guards, and oh boy.
Picking up quite a few villagers here. Going to be able to take that down before. He could have probably got that town center up, I think.
That's what I was thinking. That if he runs to the right side, he can finish that DC. It was like 95 or something %. And now, it's going to be very exposed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in this game, the buildings that are unfinished take a lot more damage than the finished buildings do.
I don't know. I haven't tested that. In Age of Empires 3, that is correct. They take 400% more damage. So if you do 10 torch damage, you would do 40 torch damage. But I don't know if that is the case here.
In Age of Empires 2, that's not the case, but that TC went down suspiciously fast.
Yeah.
In AoE 2, it's just the case for certain buildings like walls, but not like castles, for example.
Look at the Springald mass that is beginning to build now for Kasva. This is quite significant. It looks like he might actually be dropping down even more. Actually, there might be rams that he's got coming down, but I love the way that he's really taking advantage of the Abbasid bonuses here. Going to be come out onto this flank and really just take these guys down so quickly. Have a look how quickly he slices through them. First one going down. Second one. Third one. He manages to trade out for one of the Springalds. And looks to try and get a second one, but these Springalds are going to do their best. They managed to... Oh, yep, so close.
Survived. It survived. Now, here is where it gets interesting. TaToH's getting some Nest of Bees out as well against the infantry, and he's already securing the 3rd sacred site, so soon Kasva will have to move out. And we have to mention that while TaToH right now is in the Song Dynasty, with 108 villagers, this is the time to go up to Yuan Dynasty, which would give him 15% speed boost on all of his units, including Springals, making the micro much, much better.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So that's really going to help him out. My main concern is there's not enough Springalds right here now for TaToH. He would have scouted out all of the Springalds of his opponent, and he really needs to match that in some way. But now plenty of men-at-arms going to be coming in to back up these battering rams. The first one having gone down already. Springald's on the back line. Now the Nesta Bees looking to take off. There they go. The first time in the tournament we get to finally see them. One of them firing on the infantry, the other one firing on the battering ram. And actually TaToH doing a great job of taking down the Springalds on the back line. It looks like there's a single Springald that remains. And TaToH overwhelmingly going to be holding here. Crossbows as well getting in on the mix. TaToH looking very strong on the Chinese so far.
Yeah, this is the flexibility we are talking about. The moment TaToH needs a couple of crossbows, he just needs to send the Imperial Officer on the archer range, and he can pump out 15 crossbows in no time. So, yeah, Chinese are extremely difficult to figure out, but you see, it's probably the most flexible civilization of the entire game, and now TaToH is in a commanding position. Remember, there is a Sacred Site countdown going on right now.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of just really retaining map control. Are we able to take a look at the line of sight right now that TaToH's got out on the map? I'd be curious to see just exactly what he's got. Yeah, huge amount of line of sight. Yeah,
pretty cool.
Up. And compare that over to his opponent, and undoubtedly he's just sitting in the corner, really, Kasva, not having much at all. Yeah, so difficult spot for him. He does have that castle up, though.
Yeah, he's very much blind over here, and he's slowly running out of gold as well, although the bigger problem for him right now is neutralizing one of those sacred sites. Looking at the resources, Kasva's floating a lot of gold, and he's switching into Lancers.
Yeah, so Lancers are technically a counter to these Palace Guards, but keep in mind that Palace Guards are quite cheap compared to the Lancers. So Palace Guards are susceptible to the charge of the Lancers because it breaks through their armor and really penetrates a lot of their HP, but you're going to need quite a lot of Lancers to take down that many Palace Guards, and keep in mind Spearmen can always be mixed in as well, so it makes it a very difficult spot as the player with the Lancers. Ideally, you just want to be going crossbows in that position, and then you start getting into this sort of cat and mouse game of, you know, one player, or you see that TaToH has started adding crossbows, and now, so to counter those crossbows, you can either make mangonels, but if you make the mangonels, your mangonels get taken out by Springald, so you're thinking, all right, maybe I'll make horsemen instead, and now there's a whole sort of, rock, paper, scissors that goes on. But now towards the south, looks like a bit of a neutralization going to be happening here. What do you reckon, Lidakor?
This is a must-have for Kasva right now. He's going for that keep, and I think he will be able to get it up. That's so vital for him. And I honestly wonder now if TaToH's making a siege tower to get through those walls. I was just about to say that. And if he just takes that wall with his own crossbows, it's going to be insanely hard for Kasva to get rid of those.
Yeah, this is going to get pretty wild very quickly. Also getting a battering ram in here as well, just to take this down. But now those crossbows look like they are moving up towards that siege tower. Undoubtedly, Kasva is going to have line of sight on that, and he's going to know that there is something up.
TaToH is also going into Imperial, so he is up to H4. Now he can go for those almighty gunpowder units, as you said. Whereas for Kasva, I'm not sure if he's aging up. We can quickly check on that. He's indeed aging with the culture wing, as now the crossbows are on the walls. These take a lot of damage reduction when they are on the walls. You see, it's right here. So
yeah, 66%.
Yeah, this is the double-edged sword of stone walls. If your opponent ever takes it, it's gonna be troublesome. Now, looks like Kasva might find a keep for himself over here on the right.
Yeah, but take a look at that army that TaToH's got just here to back himself up. 3 Nesta Bees and just a handful of those, a handful of the Palace Guards are going to be more than enough to force that back. And have a look at the range on these crossbows. These crossbows, I think they've got a standard range of 5. So it's going to go up to 7 when they're sitting up on top of that wall. So getting some real nice damage in there. And you can see he's slowly beginning to work his way through that wall. Now, I don't think he actually realizes, but he would be able to get down on the other side. I'm pretty sure there's a way to actually get through there.
Depends on the alignment of the gate.
Yeah, Kasva might have built this on the other side. Are we able to rotate the camera around and just take a look?
I honestly don't know the hotkeys for that, but...
Just hold down left Alt.
Yeah, that's the wrong side of the gate.
He did. He built it the wrong side, which means that he would only be coming out. That's actually very big brain. Just hit backspace to change your camera back to normal. Yeah, there you go. That's the normal orientation.
I'm not sure if that's a mistake from Kasva or it's intentional, but one thing is sure. The fact that the gate is in the wrong direction means that the units can't come down on this side.
Really smart. I really like that. But by the same token, he would have been able to mount that wall without the siege tower.
Yeah, he could just rush up here because that's why placing stone gates is pretty important with the alignment. You can run up on the walls from the interior area. Now that's quite a lot of power here from TaToH though, and Keep might not be able to hold this off.
Yeah, I don't think so. Does he have that boiling oil coming in anytime soon? Doesn't look like it, unfortunately. So, yeah, no way he's really going to be able to hold this one off. But action all over the map at this point in time. We see more Palace Guards now coming down towards the south as well, looking to push in to Kasva's base, rather. But look at all those Lancers beginning to build. Significant amount here, looking to get that charge on. And here they go. No elite upgrade for these guys just yet, but plenty of crossbows in there. Do we have elite upgrades on those crossbows?
The crossbows do have decent upgrades, but this is what the infantry can do here. Make a mangonel and you could get a very, very good shot on those clumped up units.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Here it comes. Oh, it's a big shot landing on all of those crossbows at the back. Oh, Lidakor. I think he's going to hold this quite easily, but he may lose that castle on the right or northern flank.
Yeah, it's a hold.
Coming in right there.
It's still without elite lancers, so Kasva is not happy about taking this fight, but this is the best he's got right now. Down south, he's also cleaning up his opponent's army because these are elite men-at-arms against Castle Age Palace Guards.
And now we've got the clock tower bombards out. Let's take a look and see what the range is on those bad boys. Has he got the pyrotechnics upgrade just yet? Not yet. Only 10 tiles of range. Once that goes up to 12, he's going to have plenty of range on those bad boys. But I really love the fact that he's now got them out. And look at this push that he's bringing forward here. So definitely looking like he's worked out the Chinese. TaToH looking very strong at this point. Going to be able to take out that castle. There it goes. Final shot going in now. Oh, is it?
It's going to go down. It's going to go down. If it's actually in the influence radius of the town or the House of Wisdom, then it takes less damage from fire, but the cannons will still take it down. TaToH's got a pretty sizable force over here, but Kasva will now be able to regroup his Lancers, and those are elite Lancers now. He could easily jump on this army and push it back.
Yeah, and speaking of that, now we've got Bombards that are just firing off on their opponents, teeing off on them, and the Springalds are doing their best to try and take them out. We can see that the men-at-arms have gotten through to the artillery on the back line. They're slowly torching it down. And look at this beautiful night charge in from the north. Absolutely wonderful flank coming in now. Kasva doing a great job. It looks like he does have those elite lancers finally upgraded. So they're going to be looking to come in and take the Abbasid town to safety. But still, we see how many units are getting flooded in here from TaToH. It's important to remember he's got crossbows sitting here on the back line, and they counter both of these units. These are heavily armored units, gold-heavy units, and they do get countered by this crossbow mass, which continues to build up now. We see more units getting added in as well. A single nest of beads remains and fires off its crackers into the crowd indiscriminately, but somewhat only damaging the red units around.
And that's a slaughter. This is what the crossbows can do if you have meat shield in front of them. They would just melt heavy units. And really, as weird as it sounds like, I think Kasva needed a big mass of horsemen to jump on those crossbows, but it's very difficult when you have so many palace guards in front. And now it's about momentum. TaToH is getting some battering rams in to start knocking on those walls. Kasva could try to mount some archers on top of those walls if he has any.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot because this bombard is going to take down this wall. He's looking to secure another gold up here towards the north. But we can see that there's already a castle that might be in range. 123 villages at the moment for Kasva, but only 8 military units. And TaToH is knocking on his door with a 75 military population right now. The whole wall crumbles as TaToH says, "Open up. Daddy is home."
Indeed. And this would actually result in a decider game between the two players if TaToH ends up winning this, because Kasva's up 1 game, and I just don't necessarily see Kasva being able to turn this back. Looking at his resources, he's pretty much out of them, and he's just so heavily outnumbered in terms of army.
Yeah, he's doing very well. Looks like China's probably going to come out victorious with this one. I'm glad to see it. A China victory. Someone's going to get one today, and it looks like it was TaToH who did it, so very well played from him. In the base now of Kasva, his score has now begun to eclipse him significantly, up 4k score at this point. I don't think there's any way that TaToH loses this game right now. His resource is sitting up significantly. He's got 3k gold, 2.6k food at the moment, and he's very happy.
And remember that there's only 2 buildings to take down over here. The TC you start with, and the House of Wisdom. There is no more landmarks. So even if Kasva feels like he can hold at latest, when these two buildings go down, he's going to lose the game.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It is a forced loss that's going to happen. And the first one is almost going down. You can see the HP continues to drop now. Going to get lit on fire, and GG gets called. Kasva taps out, and TaToH wins the second game in the series and takes it to a deciding match, a final in the best of 3.
Amazing performance here by TaToH, and as I said, many people have been writing off Chinese. And it might not be the best civilization in the game right now, but one thing is sure. The Chinese is an extremely flexible civilization, and people are very far from completely figuring them out. And when they figure it out, it's going to be a powerful civilization. Just the army numbers are brutal here. The way that TaToH is able to replenish the army by using the Imperial officers to boost production is impressive.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. I loved how he had that out early and then began to transition away from them as the game went on. It was really, really nice watching that game. Seeing two civilizations that we haven't even seen today in the same game was very, very great.
Indeed. And we already know the civilizations for the last matchup. That is...
I'm gonna go with France. And France, that's probably the safest bet.
France is right. But what do you think about the other?
He probably knows that his opponent's going to pick France, so he wants to try and counter-pick him. So maybe English. I'm going to go with English.
The counter-pick idea is right. This is going to be the home map of Kasva, but he is picking Abbasids again. So Kasva loves his Abbasids over here.
Oh,
we don't have the information on the map. We have had Hillendale and Arabia, so Altai, Highview, and Lipany are the options. The thing is that I think the best counter to Franks or French with the Abbasids actually comes on Hillendale, because the Abbasids start to counter the French really well starting Castle Age. In Feudal Age, they are somewhat underwhelming. Their spearmen are nice, but once there is a couple of archers, they can't really do much. Once we get to Castle Age, that's where the camels start kicking in, and that's where the Abbasids start to become a counter to the French.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Once you can start to get those upgrades, there's a really nice one in there for the Camel Riders in the military wing. The +3 armor is really, really good. You can start getting those armor numbers up around the 10, 11 mark, and that's exactly it.
Indeed. TaToH is setting up the next game right now. This is for the final spot in Genesis, the first major Age of Empires 4 tournament. And I'm safe to say that, while I don't want to spoil this in the middle of this set, I think it's safe to say that there are some players that not everybody expected to be there. I really love how diverse the player base is for the main event qualifiers.
Yeah, it's been very, very great to see, people from every single game coming into this, or every single strategy game, rather, coming into this. Let me take a look and see if we've got... Yeah, so some of the people that we've got so far through for the qualifiers, so that's the final 8. We'll talk about it just again. So we've got Lucifron. He is from the StarCraft 2 community, if I remember correctly, and hold on, let me just double check that. I think he also might be from Warcraft, yes. So very active in Warcraft 3. Then we've got Viper, Age of Empires 2. Then we've got Recon. I'm not sure which community he is from.
He's from everywhere. He has played some AoE too. I think he played a lot of AoE online as well. But he has been in Age of Empires 4 ever since the alpha. So he's a very experienced AoE 4 player. He has been in the community council for a long time.
Yeah, wow. Okay. And then in addition to that, we've also got Hera, who's made it through from Age of Empires 2. And then Marine Lord from StarCraft 2. The Mister from Age of Empires 2 and Age of Mythology. Vortex, which, if I remember correctly, is Vortex the brother of Lucifron? I think it might be. I'm just going to double check. I just want to make sure. Yeah, Vortex. So active in Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2 as well. So yes, his brother. So both brothers making it through. So that is the 7. And then this game right here will determine the 8th position. So there's going to be at least 3, or there is going to be 3 Age of Empires 2 professionals making it through to the final 8. So pretty good representation there from the players in that game.
I would say yes, but I really love the diversity. And this is exactly what AoE 4 is meant to be, I guess. Sort of a place where you can have a mixture of everybody from the last couple of years' competitive RTS titles, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. All right. It looks like they might be in-game, so we're going to be hopefully jumping in to observe any second, and then we'll be waiting in queue for 5 minutes. All right, we've got 3 minutes and 25 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are currently sitting there, you're a little bit thirsty, make sure you head away, go grab something to drink, come back, and get ready for game number 3 in this series, TaToH versus Kasva. The final match of the day is this match right now. So make sure you're ready to go.
Yeah, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take a half minute of a break to turn on some lights because I started casting in the morning and it's in the evening. We have had an insane 7.5 hour stream, by the way. It didn't feel like 7.5 hours, I'm not gonna lie.
It goes really quick, doesn't it? One of the things I've noticed with Age of Empires 4 is like I will be streaming for 6 hours. I'll be like, oh shit, it's 6 hours already. Where did it go? It just goes so quick.
But yeah, I'm gonna leave you here to discuss the bacon in the yogurt topic once again for a moment.
All right. I want to talk to you guys about something very close to my heart. So, my partner, she cooked me something the other day that was the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. Okay? Get ready for this. Okay? It's not yogurt. Okay? It is brioche. Okay? Now, you guys know what a brioche bun is. Okay? brioche. It's those buns that have been like glazed with the butter. They look real good. They look real nice. They're very appetizing. You see all the Instagram influencers posting on it. Oh, baby. No, there's no bacon involved. No bacon involved. Okay. And it gets better. Just when you thought it wasn't that good, right? A brioche bun. Now imagine this. Okay. It's been cut into eighths. Okay. From the top down. So it's divided kind of like a pizza. You can open it up. And then on the inside, it's lathered with butter and garlic and cream cheese and then put in the oven for 6 minutes just to bake, just to make it a little bit roasty toasty. And oh my lord, I've never tasted something so amazing.
You lost me at garlic.
Whew. It was good. It was good. I'm thinking about it right now. You know why I'm thinking about it right now? Because it's 9 a.m. for me. She just woke up, and I'm ready for more, baby.
Indeed.
My lord.
Can we get a quick shout out to Drongo?
It's pretty good. So apparently it's a Korean thing. So if you type in like Korean garlic bread, I think it's called. Literally if you just Google Korean garlic bread, it's that. It's the exact same thing. It is that thing. Just Google Korean cream cheese garlic bread. It'll come up. It's that. It's so good, dude. It is so good, man. Now, she's not Korean, but I tell you what, the way she cooks that thing, I tell you what, she could be.
All right, it looks like it's 23 seconds.
I hope I have inspired you guys to enjoy some Korean delights.
Oh, I'd be muted. I'd be muted for like 3 minutes on Discord. I was like, Drongo is not reacting to what I say for
like you just thought I've been ignoring you talking about my garlic bread over here.
No, 3 minutes ago I said you lost me at the garlic. And I was like, you're still not reacting, so I might as well check my Discord settings. But anyways, let's jump into game number 3 over here. Even scoreline, the winner gets into the main event of Genesis. The map is High View, which is a map that's usually stacked with stealth forest, but we have an interesting map spawn over here. Most of the stealth forests are on the left and the right, and the middle is sort of just a straight-up line of emptiness.
Yeah, I love this. This is a really cool concept, actually. The flanks are open, but the middle is closed, or rather, you could say it's the other way around. The middle's open, the outsides are closed. This is really cool. I love this design. We should note this spawn down or this seed down. This looks really cool. I like this a lot, but very excited to see Kasva spawning in at the north of the map. Going to be playing on those Abbasid dynasties. Now, one of the things to note is he hasn't actually gone for berry. So he hasn't started with a mill. And if there's one thing this indicates to me, it's actually that he's going to be going for a fast second town center. Now, that is a little bit dangerous to do against the French, but he may have a read on TaToH and may know that he might be up to something funky. Now, the reason why I can tell you that is because if you go for the mill, you're not actually going to have the wood to drop down a lumber camp, because a mill is 50 plus a house is 50 plus a mining camp is 50 plus your landmark, your house of wisdom, is 50, and you only start with 200. So it's important to really save that extra wood. Just use those starting sheep, and that's exactly what he's doing. Let's take a look down at TaToH's base. What's he up to, Lidakor?
Who would think it's just going to be a standard fast feudal into School of Cavalry Knights play, as you would expect. So here's the deal. TaToH plays cavalry. That's something that Kasva knows. I would expect Kasva to go for early spearmen. So TaToH should react quite fast with archers. I would even dare to say that he needs to drop that archer range the moment he reaches feudal age, if he can afford it.
Yeah, that would definitely be it. I've just got one thing to note. Chat has picked up on this. Take a look at the gold spawns quick, Lidakor. Tell me if you notice anything.
Ouch! Those two big gold mines are much, much closer to TaToH. This is supposed to be the big gold that belongs to Kasva, and I wouldn't even say that it's close to him. It's just nasty out there. That's really nasty. The good news here is that I think in this civilization matchup in such an open map, I don't think that is going to impact the gameplay very early on. So it's something that could be a problem for Kasva later on, but usually from what we see, the French can decide games quite early on, either by winning it in most cases, or potentially getting surprised here by the Abbasids. But I don't think that this game will go into Imperial where this will matter.
Yeah, well, let's hope that it doesn't, but we will see, because when it comes to the gold mines on his side of the map, Kasva actually not looking terrible. He's got about 16,000 gold. Compare that to TaToH, who's obviously got the 12,000 in small golds and then the 16,000 in the large one. So it's not as bad as it looks, but still, it's going to be difficult for him. Let's say that. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Kasva's gold here he starts with is actually pretty decent, whereas TaToH's one is very much exposed, quite far away from DC on the front, so TaToH also gets a share of that underwhelming map generation.
Yeah, that's definitely it. I think it's definitely a bit of a divisive topic in Age of Empires, the community at large, because we've had randomly generated maps for, well, since the beginning of time. But I think that now that we enter into this sort of new period, this new sort of golden age of competitive esports for Age of Empires, I think the question needs to be asked. Should we potentially look at making these maps a little bit more safer, a little bit more secure? Because is it really, this is a $20,000 tournament. Is this an acceptable map spawn? Something tells me it's not, Litter. So who knows what we see for the future of Age of Empires and whether we start seeing a bit more static objects in the map. So that means that you see static things like gold mines being static. You would always know that there's going to be a big gold mine in the center, or there's always going to be a sacred site on the top right-hand corner, something like that.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision to make, because if you preset them so much, then the random map element is just going to go away. There is going to be no point scouting the map for additional resources if you know exactly where they spawn. So I most definitely think that the map needs to be a little bit more balanced, but I think that just needs to be through the polishing of scripts and not necessarily by presetting all resources whenever possible.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I always just like to play devil's advocate. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the random map generation. I think it just needs to be tightened up a little bit so that both players get a large gold mine.
And there is the archer range coming from TaToH. He's also going for defensive outposts on the gold mine. I like that approach. He sees the spearmen coming in, so he's going to have the archers take them down. And in case he doesn't have any archers back at home, he will still have a defensive tower to protect his gold with.
Yeah, I find this a curious choice from him. Now, interestingly, Kasva doesn't look like he's actually opened for that second TC. He has gone for a mill on the berries, but he does look like he's added it a little bit later. So making the decision not to go for that second TC, as I would have suspected that he would do. But interestingly, that outpost on the gold, I'm very curious about that and why you felt that was necessary. Scout going down in this early in the game, TaToH, not going to be happy with that one.
Absolutely. Although TaToH is one of those players that doesn't shy away from adding a new scout if he loses one for an expense of a villager. For now, it looks like it's just full spearman defense, and now I see double ranges. I actually like this, because TaToH doesn't have a lot of knights here. You see, he's got like 2 or 3 out at maximum, and he's already going for archers. Another defensive outpost to protect the mill with the huntables this time around.
Yeah, he definitely seems to like these defensive outposts, doesn't he? It's going to be the second one he adds, and we're not even at 7 minutes yet. So he's really, he's really thinking this one through and saying, I'm just going to commit to not losing these villages. Very safe play.
Indeed it is. There could be an option for Kasva to go for camel archers, by the way, which would perform pretty well against the royal knights, but the archers of the opponent would still pick them off, and camel archers are extremely expensive in Feudal Age.
Yeah, they are quite expensive, especially without having water. Typically, you see a lot of them on water maps, but without the water maps, it makes it a lot more difficult. But now we're going to see a little bit of a push coming out around the middle, and even though it is quite open in the middle, there is one large forest and one stealth forest, but now we see a villager going to be going down as well on the back line. So, unfortunately, going down for Kasva there. TaToH picking one up on the top, but now going to be careful here because pikes or spears, rather, going to be moving out and forcing those knights to come back, and not a lot of knights out on the field just yet.
Yeah, not a lot of knights, and we also have double ranges worth of production here for Kasva, whereas it's only 1 archer range for TaToH, so TaToH could easily get outnumbered in terms of archers as well, and it looks like he even finds the archers of TaToH on the north.
Yeah, doing a nice little job of just cleaning that up. Got to be careful of this Royal Knight looking to potentially pick up an archer or two when he's got his guard down, but undoubtedly going to realize that there's a bit of a switch happening right there, and there you see the charge going in, being extra cheeky. Just going to be making his way out, undoubtedly going to be having that chivalry research very shortly.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that Kasva has the infantry siege upgrade by default with the Abbasids, so he can make rams anytime. So if he gets a pretty big mass of spearmen and archers out, it's very possible that he will steamroll TaToH's base. He doesn't even need to destroy the TC, he just needs to destroy the towers on the gold and the huntables, and TaToH is going to be without resources.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I think in this position, I guess the question is, where do players go from here? My suspicion is that we're probably going to see TaToH look for an age 3 timing here. Even though he has added archers quite early in the game, I do expect that we're probably going to see that sooner rather than later. Where do you think Kaspa's going to be going with this?
I feel like Castle Age is the obvious answer over here, and I think he has to be satisfied if he gets to Castle Age. As I said, I think the biggest weakness of Abbasids against the French come in Feudal Age, because dealing with those knights is still sometimes difficult. They get the mobility advantage, they can heal themselves up. Once we get to Castle Age, dealing with the knights is rather easy because you will just have the camels out to chase them down. So I feel like at this point, Kasva has to be satisfied with the fact that he's just sitting back, he's got pretty cheap villagers, and he's just progressing towards Castle Age.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Both players not really stacking up too much gold at this point, just continuing to invest in upgrades, invest in units. And now a couple knights going to be caught out on the north side. He's got to be careful. TaToH taking a bit of damage right there. But have we got that chivalry upgrade in just yet? Are those heals going to be happening anytime soon?
Looks like it is in, so TaToH will be able to disengage. Notably, Kasva doesn't have the hardened spearman upgrade, which makes those spears much weaker against those knights. But it looks like he's just gonna build up his numbers for the time being. Also no blacksmith, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's got it down just yet. So probably a bit of an oversight from Kasva with regard to that one. Ideally, you'd want to get that one out sooner rather than later. But yeah, now going to be continuing down, trekking towards the base of his opponent. And keep in mind that there is going to be an outpost here that does spot this. And a knight on the back line going to be able to pick up some of these villagers. Potentially does a bit of a ring around the rosy and manages to get the villager out without too much of a scathe. Royal Knight manages to survive with 49 HP. Going to go away and heal up to come back another day. Spear's doing a pretty decent job. And Kasva just very happily camping up the middle of the map as well. Feeling pretty good about himself, I imagine.
Look at the amount of spears he had in queue here. So, you see, he really wants to pump that army out. He just doesn't have the production for it. As that poor scout might go down to the knight. As things stand,
not a fight he wants to take.
If we look at the resource income, TaToH seems to have better economy, as you would expect with the French, as we have Rams coming in from Kasva, the units dancing
Yes.
around the Ram over there. Ram pushes are always scary because it's a big investment, so if it doesn't work out, you're in trouble.
Yes, I agree completely. It's one of those things where you kind of feel like you have to get something out of it. You can't just let the Ram die for nothing, whether that's an expansion town center, whether that's a couple of military production buildings, whether that's villages that are trying to kill or torch the Ram. You got to try and get something, though.
Yeah. Hardened Spearman is now in for Kasva. The good news for him is that there is definitely an open field here that he can attack. And you see, TaToH's gonna spot this, but the best thing he can do is run away and launch a counterattack with a couple of knights. He might try to loop around and hit the archers from behind.
Yeah, I think he might be looking for reinforcements at the moment. We actually see he's going to be cleaning up a couple of reinforcements, splitting them up, actually, going for villages and reinforcements, so very nice from him. We hear those Abbasid villagers just crying out, asking for assistance, but unfortunately not going to be able to do it. Collecting more and more of those archers, and on the front line, the archers are just doing their best. So really nice play here from Kasva to think about that. An archer v archer is now going to begin happening. And this is not the trade that Kasva wants, or rather, this isn't the trade that TaToH wants. This is the trade that Kasva wants. Now behind you can see all those spears about to pop out. There they are. And archer v archer is exactly what he wants. But the main difficult, or the difficult spot for him is that there are so many spears that remain, and he hasn't actually traded out any of these spears just yet. Now Knight's beginning to meet up with some of those archers on the front line, and just trying his best to just keep the large mass of knights away. How do you think his micro's been throughout this?
It's difficult to say, because I feel like right now TaToH's army is just much, much better over here. Kasva did his best, but I think it's just simply insufficient right now. He doesn't have the archers to match TaToH's archer numbers, so TaToH will just pick off the archers and then delete the spearmen, pretty much. Kasva looks like he's in a bit of trouble production-wise as well, and I see him dropping down to 7 on food, which will make it very difficult to reinforce the battlefield.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for him, and now he's in a real hard spot because these spears are going to be able to very easily connect with the archers, but at the same time, he's going to be feeling pretty good about himself, but at the same time, we've got TaToH actually choosing to take this fight, a dangerous choice right here. Spears need to get on top of those units. Archer's doing a pretty decent job, but keep in mind, we are closer to Kasva's base. He's going to have reinforcements coming in. Spear's doing a great job of cleaning this up, and I got to start asking questions. Why did TaToH take that fight? He was in a great position, and all of a sudden, he's just given that up. Kasva looks like he's sort of just got one up on him.
Exactly. I feel like TaToH may have overestimated the capabilities of his knights, and the spearmen ended up overrunning him. The spearmen still are lacking the phalanx upgrade, by the way, but this is the time to strike for Kasva. He's got a military advantage that's quite considerable, so this is the time to counterattack. He could consider mixing in some horsemen to try and deal with the archers, but he survived the worst part of the game, honestly, because now TaToH's early aggression is no more.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I guess my question is where to from here? Oh, okay, never mind. They're going to the ranch, it seems. Watch out, fellas. Archery range going to get dropped down as well, so triple archery range here for Kasva, as well as just that single barracks coming out. I'm curious exactly what TaToH's response is going to be here, whether he continues making units, whether he looks at potentially aging up. I feel like he's kind of stuck at this point in the second age. Has he added a second town center yet? Are we able to check the map and scour it? Oh my lord, these poor villagers.
Yeah,
unfortunate timing, but
TaToH's coming in with a two-pronged attack here. He's even getting a ram out on the right side to try and take that tower down. Looks like Kasva will be able to move out. TaToH's hiding those knights in there for the time being. TaToH is still 1 TC, it seems, and so is Kasva. 45 villagers for Kasva, and TaToH is at 50, so rather even economies, I would say.
Yeah, pretty even, pretty decent. And now the ram going to continue its march towards the berries. It's had enough of these damn berries on this map. And now we see that multiple units are coming in from the side as well, taking out one villager. Second villager going to be going down, and Spear's going to be looking to reinforce here. But keep in mind, there are archers here that are going to be able to defend. Kasva now moving out with his large mass of archers. And this is going to be a waste of 300 wood, I suspect, as the spears now begin to move in on this remaining ram. But these archers are going to prevent the passage of it. We see that he's done a great job of just sort of forcing that ram back. Spear's going to be able to clean it up. He's got 2 rams of it himself.
Yeah, now, I think Kasva's food income right now is horrendous. He is basically just been consuming berries, and it's really showing that he's just unable to get a reasonable food income set up. Whereas for TaToH, he's got a lot of farming eco, so he's set up long-term for food income.
Yeah, I think he's in a really decent spot. He's got a lot of infrastructure here. Despite his enemy having significantly higher military advantage at the moment, I think that Kasva's economic infrastructure is quite decent. So, yeah, one of the things to note is that there's a few towers going up towards the north. There's berries as well as deer that are up there that Kasva is beginning to begin harvesting. So I do expect that he will have to transition off those shortly and look at potentially dropping down farms the same way that TaToH has dropped down as well.
We talked about the fact that if a ram push fails, that's going to have a pretty heavy burden on you, simply because it's such a big investment. And now we're seeing the difference. Kasva is still very much into Feudal Age, whereas TaToH is going up to H3 with the Guild Hall. Kasva needs to make this one count, but I'm not 100% convinced that he's got enough here.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him, and we actually see 3 towers getting dropped on these berries, so Kasva really means business when it comes to those berries. That's insane. I can't believe that he would invest that many resources in this. In fact, we see a lot of towers coming out this game between these 2 players. Is the tower meta something I've been missing out on, Lidakor? Potentially, perhaps. But now, towers are going to be taken down by these rams.
That's a lot of archers from Kasva. But I feel like TaToH can just grind down the numbers. He doesn't need to kill the entire army of Kasva. He just needs to make sure Kasva doesn't have a lot to destroy villagers with, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Speaking of villages, a couple of those villages are going to be going down now. So I think was that 5 villages potentially being evaporated. So now down to 49 villages for TaToH. Kasva sitting on 47. Made a little bit of an improvement, but at the same time, got TaToH that continues to raid his enemy. Kasva at a difficult spot. He's finally exhausted all of that forest. He's going to need to move on to the next one. But now, TaToH almost up to the 3rd age. As soon as he gets up, he's going to need to upgrade those units immediately. But the issue is that on the front line is his archery range. He's got more archery ranges to the back, so he's going to have to potentially look at an upgrade through that.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing for TaToH because he just invested a lot of resources into Castle Age, and he still needs some time until he gets the upgrades in. Once he gets the upgrades in, he can force a decisive fight, and you see Veteran Archer immediately queued up, and on the Blacksmith, there is the defense upgrade as well from Castle Age.
Yeah, and you can just see that Kasva realizes this, and he's going around. Now, one of the actual, the 900 IQ play here would be to actually go for the 2nd archery range and not the 1st one, because the 2nd one is the one that's going to have that upgrade in it. And it could be the difference between taking it down and that archery range not actually getting that upgrade through.
It's going to be pretty close. But I think TaToH might be able to get that upgrade. And it's still 20 seconds away. TaToH might need to pull bills.
I don't think he's got it. I think he's trying his best to stop it, to distract them. But you can see the Rams are really committing right now. These guys are very keen on the ranch. How many seconds have we got? 8 seconds to go. Are they going to be able to make it with this final blow?
5.
Here it goes.
It goes down.
It goes down.
It goes down.
He's going to need another 30 seconds to make another archery range. He's going to need another 1 minute to get that upgrade in. That is huge.
That is enormous. The defense upgrade is also unfinished yet. It's just about to come in. And this is not looking good for TaToH, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, TaToH is trying his best to hold on. He's in the 3rd age, but we can really see that he may have committed a little bit too hard. Abbasid Archer's just calling out right now. And look at this bad fight right now. TaToH in misery right now as his archers, or rather as his knights, go down to enemy spears. And a difficult time for him.
Look at TaToH's food income. There is absolutely no villagers on it. TaToH currently is sitting on 0 food gatherers.
Oh my lord.
And he won't be defeated if he loses the School of Cavalry and the TC, because there is still the Guild Hall here at the back, but now he's scrambling for defense and his eco is just going down at a rapid pace.
Yeah, this really just shows the power of that feudal age timing that we see with the Rams. You know, often people will talk about the ranch and say that it's not strong enough, but here we see that TaToH is actually losing despite having French and despite having that castle age advantage. Landmark has now been destroyed. 2 landmarks remain, and TaToH is definitely getting pushed up against the ropes right now.
Yeah, I think the problem here is that even if TaToH somehow cleans this army up, he has just lost so much economy. I mean, just look at his base. It just leveled. No production buildings. Now he's got veteran archers in with the second defense upgrade, but it's just brute force numbers from Kasva right now.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, you can't really make up for the difference in numbers. You know, you could have elite archers there and it still wouldn't be able to hold. Kasva's just got that much more tempo right now. He's only got, TaToH's only got 2 villagers right now that are on food. But we do see a Mangonel coming out. If there's one unit that can sway the battle, it is indeed the Mangonel. He's got to be so careful with this unit as he begins to move and takes the shot. It's a huge shot, taking out plenty of archers on the back line. It looks like 4 have gone down. He continues to focus down the Mangonel, moving up towards, and he needs to pull villagers to heal it in case it begins to go down any further. But it looks like TaToH may actually hold this right now with a single Mangonel to save the day.
That is brutal. Now, Kasva shouldn't actually waver here, because this might be disheartening to see our entire army getting destroyed, but this is the moment where Kasva needs horsemen. TaToH is exclusively archers, he's very, very stretched out in economy. 10 horsemen here could level TaToH, but TaToH lives to see another day, and that's the most important thing right now for him. And we talked about this multiple times, but losing a ramp push like that is gonna have a pretty big burden on you.
Indeed it is. And you've got to ask the question, has he put enough damage into his opponent at this point? But take a look what he's dropping down behind this in the red base. Kasva is dropping down multiple stables. We see 4 stables coming down right now. So he realizes that if I do a cav switch right now, I could potentially take him by surprise. And that's exactly what he's aiming for. Mangonel going to continue pushing out. And these stables are sitting very safely at the back of the base, so not going to get scouted out, so they are going to remain a surprise for now.
They need to remain a surprise, because now TaToH has the army advantage, and the only way Kasva swings it back in his favor is if he jumps on this force and destroys it, and he's got all the tools he needs for that. There's basically nothing from TaToH that can counter horsemen, as we got the archers swooping in on the left side as well.
Yeah, very cheeky little raid there. But once again, I love the towers from these guys. Just so efficient. They've just got a lot of towers out and about just to protect resources. Mangonel now going to begin firing, taking down that outpost. And we can see the mass beginning to build. Plenty of horsemen. And now, slowly, the House of Wisdom begins getting taken down by the battering ram. A second battering ram also going to be coming up as a little ram dance happens right now around that ram. You can just see all those units just doing a little dance, pushing each other around that ram, and still not yet completing it. There we go. Second ram now up.
I feel like at this point, Kasva needs to sacrifice the House of Wisdom temporarily, simply because he needs more horsemen. He has one shot at this. If he moves in too early, he's gonna lose all his horsemen. It's gonna be too late. He needs to focus down the archers first, and then he can clean up the rest.
Yep, that's exactly right. But you can see just how fast those horsemen are melting, and he's sieging straight for the Mangonel, the correct play right here. And now finally going to be able to open up onto those archers. The rest of his archers begin to move in, and the horsemen doing their best to get in on top of the archers, doing pretty well, kiting away from them. TaToH having a good time as he moves out, one-shotting the horsemen as he does it. So really displaying the terrible way that the horseman unfortunately works. It's just a really cheap, ineffective unit in the second age. And it does look like TaToH is going to be able to save the majority of his army here, and that Kasva may live to sail another day.
Yeah, that's pretty massive right now. I feel like now Kasva needs to find a way to castle it, because we are actually going to see a longer game here. TaToH also lost a big investment with the siege. Also, he had to grab the infantry siege upgrade as well. But
yeah, and
yeah, go ahead.
Kasva's going to begin moving out. He's got the numbers advantage, but these units are weaker. Keep in mind, they don't have +2. They don't have veterancy. House of Wisdom slowly going to be getting healed up there. We do see the health slightly rising ever so slightly. And now it looks like an expansion going to be happening out over on the gold mine. So TaToH looking to secure that down towards the south, but archers are inbound. And now that outpost almost going to be going up. But even if those villagers do get inside, they're all going to be dead soon anyway. Because these units are quite large and quite in charge right now. But now we've got ourselves a little bit of a spearman raid, boys. This is concerning, I would say.
TaToH doesn't have numbers. And remember,
it doesn't.
Kasva's got 21 villagers lead. That's the impact of that previous attack. So yeah, TaToH is still in Castle Age and Kasva's in Feudal, and Kasva is right now just racing for the worst ever micro in AoE 4 award.
Yeah, he's doing a good job as well. It looks like he's definitely going to get that award in this game. I love that he's just put them all into a line and then just rushed them away. So managing to regroup now with the rest of his army in the middle of the map, but now he's going to have to deal with the French Knights, which are veteran status. And these guys have got 6 ranged armor. And take a look at the charge that comes out right now. Absolutely beautiful. Knight going to be connecting. Oh, the Mangonel shot comes in. It manages to miss. Mangonel shot not really spotting anything, taking out anyone, and those archers are having a difficult time. You can see they're doing their best to try and take it out. Mangonel shot going in and taking out more spears, more archers, and it looks like the Mangonel will survive, and so that military is going to have to move out. Kasva doing a pretty decent job here with the line micro. I will just say, I like the line micro from Kasva because this is a great way to dodge Mangonel shots because Mangonels, they do shoot in an area, and even if you spread them into the formation that spreads them all apart, it's not going to give them, there's still quite a good coverage that the Mangonels get, but this line, it's a lot more effective in my opinion, as long as you keep your formations a bit smaller.
Kasva, by the way, has an insane hold over here against the Castle Age army. We have to keep that in mind, that he's still Feudal Age, and he's also sort of in a vegetarian diet, because he's just going for all the berries available on the map.
Well, this is a map, if I remember correctly, this map has got 4 berry spawns per player. So there's plenty of berries out there and about there to be getting, and obviously Kasva spotting another berry bush up there towards the west of the map. But now we see once again TaToH going to be dropping down another ram just to the south of Kasva's base, and going to have more siege out on the field. Another knight going to be coming in, and keep in mind, this is a large army right now from Kasva as it begins to march out. Mangonel shot coming in on a couple of the spears. Spears going to be connecting with that single knight, and it looks like the Mangonel probably going to be going down right now as we see those archers moving forward, and no second shot comes out from the Mangonel. So Kasva going to be very happy right now because the mass is much larger than his opponents. He's in a good spot. What do you reckon?
TaToH's missing a lot of knights from the battlefield right now because he's mostly facing archers, and like 10 knights would do so much here. TaToH simply doesn't have the food to make that. He's making archers and he's got 12 on food only. And now I feel like it's just brute force power for Kasva. TaToH's at 27 army, Kasva's at a whopping 58.
Yeah, it's really starting to look like brute force for Kasva. He's got a significant military lead as well. So it's really giving him a lot of potential, but he's got to be careful here. He's got those multiple lines now of archers in separate groups just to avoid those Mangonel shots. So doing a really nice job with that as well, and trying his best to take down a knight. But you can see how much damage they do to those knights, barely scratching them. A little bit of attack down towards the east of the map as well. And Kasva going to be picking up a spare knight down here. So this knight was full HP, 230. All of those hit points are going to be going the way of the dodo. Goodbye, little knight. And at this point in the game, I really feel like TaToH needs as many knights as he can get. So that's a really nice find for him.
Yeah, that's a very, very good find. And in general, you see, TaToH's map control is so limited. I'm just realizing TaToH's off from gold. We have been saying how Kasva got screwed over by these big golds over here, but we started talking about these 2 front golds for TaToH. And both of those are gone for him. He doesn't have gold income, so no knights for him anytime soon.
Yeah, really, really good point. I think in his position, he can probably continue just making archers, and he should be okay. He does have veteran archers. He does have +2. He's going to be making pretty efficient trades with that. The question is going to be whether he can actually hold the mass. He's going to be able to effectively counter or kite his enemy horsemen, just because the horsemen really don't do that well against mass archers. But I'd be curious to see how he's going to be able to pull this one out.
TaToH, by the way, actually saves 3 villagers from this stone mine. Kasva didn't spot them. And now, if we look at the ecos, it's 46 for TaToH. Kasva is sitting at 75. Remember, he still has 25 food cost for his villagers, and he's got a couple of them in queue. Yeah,
just a few villagers in queue at the moment. Like he just put another one in queue just then, just as we were watching. It's like, you know what? 8 wasn't enough. Make it 9, boys.
That's because they are so focused on the game that they simply don't even realize how many units they have in the queue. It's like, okay, every once in a while he taps the town center hotkey and queues up 3 vills, but he's not even realizing that, there's a big production bottleneck. Same for the spearman, so look at this. So many spearmen.
Yeah, he's got a whole bunch of units in there. He wants to make a lot of spearmen, not a lot of barrackses. Let's take a look at his military, I was going to say his military production, but never mind. as now Kasva getting pushed away a little bit from TaToH. Bit of a raid over towards the north of the base, but those Knights are going to have absolutely no trouble dealing with the Horsemen. Speaking of the Horsemen, they're now on the front line, doing their best to put in some damage. TaToH actually looking like this is going to be a very efficient trade for him. I talked about earlier about all he needs to do is make archers at this point, and that's exactly what he's doing. A very effective push against his enemy. No need to make mangonels, just archers are going to be able to deal with this very fine. But now, more Horsemen coming out for Kasva. He's beginning to flood the map with Horsemen, and that's why we're seeing these archer numbers beginning to dwindle.
Yeah, I mean, Kasva is going full feudal here. I really feel like he needs to get to Castle Age. If he gets to Castle and has like 10 Lancers out, he's gonna win the game. The only thing that separates him from victory is missing Castle Age. TaToH actually gets back on the gold mine.
The main issue, though, is that he doesn't have a window. In my opinion, he doesn't have a window for Castle, at least not right now. I mean, he could just go up to Castle, but then if he does that, he's going to potentially get pushed back himself. He may be losing a lot of resources. He's in a lot of places on the map, and he can't afford to lose any more villagers in this game. But look at that size of that military. It's absolutely huge. And now TaToH thinks he's got a little bit of an advantage, beginning to push out up towards the sacred site. This could be a do-or-die moment as we see horsemen coming in from all parts of the map. The south, the north, the base is just reinforcing. Plenty of horsemen in here and trying his best to get out. We see the archers moving across, trying to cut these units off, but he's got to get these horsemen in on top of the archers. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're just not doing it. And the mangonel shot on the back line, going to try and get a big shot in right now. Kasva's got to be careful as it goes in, and all of the archers have gone down to the mangonel. That is why you go age 3, because mangonels do not mess around. Holy dooly.
Is this enough for TaToH, though? Because he's also losing his army. Oh, this is just such a crazy game here. Because look at the unit flood that Kasva is having, and if he had a couple more production buildings, he could spam even more.
They are fighting right now. This is the best of 3. They're in the final game for the last position into the $20,000 EGC Genesis tournament. The very first Age of Empires 4 tournament. That's what they're fighting for now. And you can see it really coming out of these guys. I can't see their faces on the screens, but I imagine they're sweating right now. There's blood all over each other's fists. They are fighting it out real tough right now. It looks worse than the UFC, but you should see the other guy, because TaToH, he's having a tough time. Kasva doing his best, but scores still looking good for TaToH at this point.
Yeah, and this is where the tournament experience of TaToH can come in, because he is very experienced in tournaments. He is really the one that won't waver in this, and now I see something that shouldn't be the case here for Kasva. Bloomer is still missing on his horseman, something that could have been a massive difference maker with that extra attack.
Yeah, it would have made a pretty big difference, especially for those horsemen. Only doing 9 damage means it's going up to 10, so they're getting more than 10% value from that. Really, really strong and an important upgrade to get as well. So, yeah, it kind of sucks that he hasn't got that one yet, so definitely going to be feeling that, but it's interesting to note we're now into a 33-minute game, and he's still in Age 2, still sitting in the Feudal Age right now. So he is very happy to play this one out all game in Feudal, it seems. I would love to see him just max out and just still play Feudal. Just, you know, some games you're like, you know what, I forgot to age up, I'm just not going to age up. Maybe he's just like, I'm committed now. I'm just going to play Age 2. I'm going to beat this guy in Age 2.
But he's not gonna do that. There's the military wing coming in, and I feel like TaToH's clock is ticking now really badly. He's at 54 villagers, as opposed to a whopping 83. And the moment Kasva gets up to Castle Age, Kasva's gonna have a mixture of knights and camels, and that's not something that either the French or TaToH has answers to.
And speaking of answers, it looks like the mangonel may be caught out of position right now. This is an expensive loss. A lot of wood, a lot of gold being invested in this, but we do see some villagers coming over to pull. Oh, but unfortunately, they are not going to get the heals off in time. A nice try there from TaToH, but just reacting a little bit too late with that one. Very well played from Kasva to snipe that one. And now we see a defensive outpost getting placed down. Look at all these outposts down here to protect these villages. Absolute insanity how many outposts these guys get out on their villager lines just to protect them. You can see just outposts everywhere dotted around the map to protect these villages. It really makes sense when you think about it. They're so important to maintain control of. And look at all these units that continue to flood out right now for Kasva as he finally looks to reach the 3rd age at about 35 minutes.
Better late than never. And as I said, once he gets to Castle Age, there's a whole lot of options available to him. Men-at-arms potentially against the spearmen and the archers, or just Lancers himself. There's a couple of knights being mixed in by TaToH, but he simply doesn't have a huge amount of them. As here's Castle Age. Let's see what Kasva's up to. He's getting Veteran Horseman as you would expect. Defense upgrade would be pretty imperative as well for him.
Yeah, it's really important that he gets these upgrades in as soon as possible. So Veteran Horsemen, Veteran Archers, as well as those +2s are really going to be important. But now we've got ourselves a little bit of a Ram Dance happening in the middle of the map. For anybody unfamiliar with the Ram Dance, it's a dance you do whenever you build a Ram with more than 16 units. They do that nice little dance just to let you know that they're building the Ram.
I feel like TaToH is not pushing this one fast enough because we will have the upgrades in just in time for Kasva. It's like 17 seconds. Once again, I feel like you can sort of sacrifice the House of Wisdom temporarily here for the sake of grabbing those upgrades before you fight.
Yes, I agree completely. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you know what, I'm not, like, he puts it in front of his base because he wants it to tank. Like, there is a reason why it sits in the front. It's got a lot of HP, plenty of stuff that it can be soaked with. But no actual, do we have any, what are they called? The harpoon guns, what are they called?
Crossbows.
No, not the crossbows, the siege. I don't,
oh,
Springalds. Don't worry. Yes, Springalds. I'm trying to think of the name Springald. No, Springalds coming out, and look at the Mangonel trying to get into position. At the same time, Kasva just running back. The Mangonel shot gets off, lands very nicely on those archers, but not able to kill them out. Not just yet. But all the horsemen, elite horsemen upgraded now on the front line, going to be doing their best to deal with the enemy archers. A couple of spears in the mix as well, and TaToH looking pretty strong in this position. A lot of his units are going to be able to come out of this, and keep in mind, those archers are quite badly damaged. Even though he does have lower numbers, he's got a lot more HP on his archers compared to those, because those have all had a mangonel shot land on top of them.
It's easier for Kasva to reinforce, though he's got more production buildings, a stronger economy, and I feel like if this battle is lost here for TaToH, he will only be given the white flag against the player having the civ with the black flag.
I can only feel the same way. Look, Kasva has played an incredible game here. I think both of these players, you know, my hat's off to both of them. Really well played. But at this point, now that Kasva has gotten up to the next age, a camel comes out. And you know what that means? We're going to have, I suspect, yes, camel support coming through any second. At least I would hope so. Camel support is an incredibly strong tech. Going to give +1 armor, both ranged and melee, to all of his infantry units. And going to enable some significantly efficient trades to happen. But now going to continue pushing up the map. Do you think there's any way that TaToH is going to be able to hold this push? He is down right now, about 1,200 score, Lidakor.
I think it's very difficult. He simply doesn't have the economy now. Now it's even technologies, and we are talking about a player that has 30 more villagers than you do, and potentially even a better army if you get camel support in.
Kasva looking strong now as he begins to close in a lot of lancers out. You talked about this. You said if he goes up to the third age, he gets lancers out, and it's going to be GG, and that's exactly what looks like is happening right now. There's not enough spears to push these lancers back, and it's looking like a tough game right now as Kasva's bows continue to tee off on his enemy units, and TaToH having a difficult time as he falls back underneath the town center, going to be going idle here as well. Everybody heading towards the town center, hoping for a last-second act of desperation. We see his military count climbing, but now it's fallen, and Kasva is victorious. TaToH bows out of the tournament, and good game gets called.
What a
Kasva
game.
is going through to the main event.
What a game. I think we have just witnessed the single most exciting Age of Empires 4 game so far. This was just absolutely intense, so back and forth. And really, Kasva deserves all the credit for grinding this out, because you see, he was able to leverage the fact that he was pressuring TaToH, and he just kept expanding that eco, and in the end, that is the difference maker.
Yeah, honestly, when I see a match like that, and I watch just how hard these two guys were grinding, I kind of pull my hair out, and I think, you know what? I don't want to be a pro Age of Empires 4 player. That is stress-inducing right there. I can't imagine what these guys are feeling right now after that. That was an incredible slugfest. Absolute insanity.
Absolute insanity. And I'm gonna share a story with you because I'm in pretty good terms with Kasva. I've been seeing his progress through Age of Empires, and he's a very inspiring player from a perspective because he's really grinding more than anyone else. And I've asked him, I think a day after release, how he likes AoE 4. And his answer was AoE 2 is history. So that's his perception on the game right now, and his grind is paying off. He's one of the 8 participants of the main event of Age of Empires 4.